Good. All right, welcome. It's exciting to be here in game week. It seems like it's a long time coming every time you make this merry-go-round that we call a calendar, but it's exciting to be here and exciting to be, having a game in front of us, Gold Rush in particular. Before I get into that, I do want to make a statement. I'd like to address the incident involved two of our coaches back from early May. I want you to know we continue to deal with the coaches internally regarding the repercussions for their actions. Okay, I do want to make it clear in supporting these men, we are not dismissing the charges. We are simply showing that we believe in them and want to continue to have them work within this program because of who they are as people. We've taken this matter very seriously, and I say that on many ends, and one is just the improved, enhanced trainings that we will do and have continued to do within our program. So that being said, in accordance with university policy, I'm not going to make any further comment, but I wanted to give an update relative to that situation. So as we move forward, really have liked our development through the course of this fall. We've talked on several occasions, obviously, with you all about several different position battles. Those things sorting out, guys continuing their improvement, and really getting to this point as we approach September, being a different team than we were when we began August. And I truly believe that that's where we are at. On offense, certainly return a lot of guys. I think, our strength lies within our ability to run the football, but I do think we've improved our passing game. I do think, our weapons are different, and those weapons that do return are better, improved players than they were in this past year. And on the defensive side, again, our strength has to start with our guys up front and their ability to control the line of scrimmage, and that crew has taken that charge to heart. And I think the secondary, and I've talked a lot about it, was a position group that we lost some key players, some mainstays, and that crew has a lot of talent, but has continued to compete and get better through the course of fall camp now. And I think the good thing that we've seen is, when you think you have talent and good players on both sides of the ball, there should be some back and forth. One side of the ball should not be dominating completely, and I think that's what we've had through the course of fall camp. Our O linemen make our D line better, and vice versa. On the perimeter, our receivers going against our DBs continue to make one another better. And we're at that point in time now. We're going against guys in different colored jerseys is where we need to be, and I think our guys are ready for this opportunity. And in Utah Tech, we have a program coming in here that has made the transition, and I think they're beyond the transition. Their play late in the season last year demonstrated that. They played Sam Houston really tough, beat Stephen F. Austin while they were ranked, rattled off a couple more wins, and then really had BYU in that final game on its heels for a good chunk of that game. So they were a lot different team in that back portion of the season than they were early in the season. Early in the season, they did play a couple of our conference foes. They played Weber and Sac State. But I think, as that season went along, they've shown to really improve. Now they've had some turnover like most programs do this day and age, and so as first games go, you are going in with some unknowns, certainly, both personnel and just even schematically. But, what we got to be focused on is going out and playing our best, keeping things as simple and concise as we can, protecting the football, taking the football away, playing as clean a game as we can. And even watching some college football games this past weekend, that's what it comes down to in game one. You try to get too fancy, you make too many mistakes. It's going to be hard, and there were certainly some of those games that were decided because of those mistakes this past weekend. So excited for it, though. the aura around Gold Rush, I think, has become more widely known. The energy in that stadium, I know, is something that we are desiring come Saturday and anticipating. And I know we have several guys that will be experiencing it for the first time, but many guys that have been in that atmosphere before. And just excited to allow our guys that opportunity to play in front of what I see as the greatest fans in the country. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
You mentioned the roster turnover that they have. I guess, how does that affect your preparation, just kind of going into week one with such different teams?
Well, I think you really have to focus on who we are, and at the same time be able to make some adjustments as the game goes along. And you look at last year. They were very prolific at times on offense. 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver, 2,000-yard quarterbacks. Now, not all those guys are back, but you got to assume that they can plug some guys in to do some of the same things. Defensively, thought they had some really good athletes. They could bring some of them back. Some of them aren't there. So we just got to go into it and say, okay, there is a feeling out process, probably more in game one than your typical week-to-week matchup, as you've been able to pile up the research, so to speak. But know that we're not going to take anything for granted. We got to really focus on being the best version of who we can be, and let the rest take care of itself.
Anything in particular you've seen stand out from their quarterbacks for this season?
Well, they like to throw it around, and I said that they had a 1,000-yard rusher at the same time. So, I think we got a good sense for maybe who they're leaning, but it's again going to be a feeling out process, and we got to just be sound, and I hope that we can lean on that D line to put some pressure on as much as they want to throw it around, and I think our ability to cover on the back end, I think that's an area that I hope we look differently than we have in the past couple of years. We certainly have the ability to play more guys in the secondary, so. It'll just be an interesting kind of back and forth as those first few series unfold to kind of get settled in, and that's the honest to God truth how most of these first games go. Rarely do you have anything super dialed in. It's usually a feeling out process, and we got to be on point, on our end, and not worry about so much what they're going to do, I guess.
With the secondary, those guys who won those position battles, Lavelle, Drew, and then Miles Jackson, what kind of stood out with them to just get that edge?
Well, I'll speak to the nickel spot. I really see, someone's got to go out to the first play between Lavelle and Caden. They're both going to play probably equal parts. But Lavelle, appreciate him as a senior in his last go around. Elevating his game. Sticking with it all through his time here at MSU, and what Lavelle brings to the table is his experience, his knowledge of what we're trying to do, and I think his athleticism, maybe in particular on the coverage side of things. But he's a guy that plays bigger than his frame might suggest. But it'll be both those guys at that position. I think Drew is a guy that we found his home. He played corner for us last year. I think with the idea that safety could be ultimately a landing spot, so he's at that free spot, and you can just see his comfort level continue to grow. His aggressive nature really showed up in the scrimmage 2 Saturdays ago. His ability to cover ground, I think, has always been something that's apparent, but I think he's going to allow us to do quite a bit from that free safety position. And I think at the corner position, Miles had a really good spring. He missed some time early in fall camp, but I think once he got back in there, I did a really good job. But I suspect that we're going to, play probably 5 corners, which is a good thing. We've sometimes played 3, most times played 2 from week to week. So to have the thought that you can play 5, so the 2 deep plus Devin Davis, that's exciting. And then I think it'll be for us to kind of continue to sort that out in some regards, series to series, but ultimately week to week.
And then for the offensive line, especially with the left side and the right guard with Omar there, I guess how did that get sorted out?
Yeah, I think we saw a real talent in Connor Moore and inserted him into a position to get a lot of reps going back to the spring. Knowing Connor's potential, wanted to make Rush more position flexible, and it proved out that move for Rush was good for him, and ultimately Connor really responded to the challenge that was set forth for him. Omar has had an amazing offseason, and his fall camp, and his rise from where he was last year. Last year he was a talented guy that flashed at times. Certainly the running video against Weber State out in the perimeter, caught a lot of eyes. He did some real good things, but he really built upon that with a great offseason, and I think looks to, in my eyes, to be a very dominant player at that right guard position. JT Reed's one that has suffered through some injuries, and he was a guy that we gave some center reps to again increase his position flexibility. So, I think we've put ourselves in position to, as we stand here today, put our best five out there, and then where we go from there, I think we do have some options. Losing Cole Sane did hurt because Cole had a really good spring and played well last year. And, certainly his ability to play probably all five positions was there. But, the nature of football is you have to be able to find the next guys to step up. And, I feel like we've done that at this point, even though some guys aren't so game tested.
And from the running back position, what did you see with Lane and Julius that ultimately gave them the opportunity?
Well, Lane, I think his performance last year, albeit it was in short windows, really was impressive. And I think he's a guy that can be an every down back. I don't know that he's ever going to be a 25-30 carry a game type of guy, but he can be out there every down. And I think the balance, at least to start the season with him and Julius, I think out of fall camp makes the most sense. And that's not to say Scott Trey Humphrey, Jared White, Elijah Elliott won't all get some run here and there. But right now, those two, I think just as far as, their maturity, their ability to make positive plays, and their ability to probably be out there on first, second, and third down is what separated them.
Can you talk a little bit about the tight end group? When we talked to Tommy and Nolan this morning, they had a lot of great things to say to watch out for that position group. So how they have made strides over the past month.
Yeah, Derek got back really the last couple weeks. I should say week, actually, last Monday, and he's picked up right where he left off. He's a guy that didn't need a lot of wear and tear early in camp. Had a really good off season. And had a tremendous season last year. So he put in the work in the off season, and I suspect that he'll take another step forward come Saturdays. He was a dynamic player for us last year, and our ability to utilize him in so many different ways, I think, can be expanded upon. Trayton Pickering dealt with an off-season surgery back right after the season. Didn't go through spring ball, but for the first time since I've been here, I think is really truly healthy. But then he's taken himself physically to another level. He would be right at the top of the list. If you said who had the most impressive fall camp relative to where they've been, it'd be Trayton. And I think what those two guys give Tommy and Sean when Sean's out there is a real comfort level. And if they know where they're on the field, they can put that ball in tight spaces, and those guys are going to come up with it. So, real dynamic group. They are different, Trayton and Derek. And I think that's a plus that we can utilize them in several different ways, both collectively and then individually. So we're anxious to see that group, even though it was really good last year, take their game to another level.
Brendan Hall winning the place-kicking job. I guess what did he do there?
Yeah, I think he showed consistency. Beyond just his range, I think his range. I would say is incredible. I think his ability to line up from 60 is not this pipe dream. I think that's something that we feel like we'll have a shot for. But more importantly, how does he look inside of 40, where most of your opportunities are going to come into play? And he has been real consistent. I think he's showing the ability to handle all three jobs, just with his demeanor. With his experience too. He did two of the three as a true freshman at SMU, and I think maturity-wise, he's probably in a different place than he was 2 years ago, and it takes that. You can't carry over one of those jobs to the next. They're all they're all individual. You're going to be asked to do something, in a lot of cases pretty quickly thereafter. And I think he's got the right mindset. And I do want to credit Casey Kotzman, though. Casey really is a different kicker and even punter than he was this time last year. He served as our backup on both last year as a true freshman and didn't get any action, but he has taken his consistency to a different level as well. So right now we're going to roll with Brendan doing all three and feel really good about it.
Any other updates on the injury front?
Yeah, two guys that aren't listed on defense. Paul Brott. Paul will be out for a short time. Whether that's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have to see. And then Tyson Pottinger could be out 1 to 2 weeks. Both guys. We're factoring in his backups, factoring in his guys that would be on the field. So it's tough to see those guys go down like they did, but I think we're very confident they're going to be back in a pretty short turnaround here.
And then just back to Utah Tech, on the defensive side, I guess what stood out? I know you mentioned one of the top linebackers back this year. I guess what stood out on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think if you sat down and you watched all 11 games, you probably would have some questions. But I think they did get more dialed in as you went along and played a sound, aggressive nature of defense, played multiple fronts at times, showed an aggressive nature at times. So I think probably more so than maybe the offensive side, they were really evolving last year. And I know statistically it didn't end up being a great year, but I do think they got much better. Now you turn over some players too, and I know they bring in players, so not that much different than offense. It'll be a little bit of a guessing game to see what they do. So we got to come out of the gates and do things that our guys are really confident doing into multiple looks. I think we can't be so specific on some of the things we do immediately, and just a lot of our guys play fast. I think that's the biggest thing. We can't have our linemen in particular, our tight ends probably include that, kind of sitting on their heels. We need to be able to be aggressive. I think Tommy, with his experience, being able to see and read coverage, you feel real good about it. We're not going out there, trotting out a quarterback for the first time. So, no, they're very capable and showed a lot of improvement over the course of the year last year.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the Stephen F. Austin BYU games. Is there anything you can glean from either those games or even the common opponents like against Big Sky teams last year?
Well, I think you just got to recognize there's talent on that field, and sometimes talent and where their confidence level is, where their ability to play really complementary football, that takes some time, and that's what you could kind of see coming together last year. By the end of the year, they were playing much more complementary football than they probably were at the beginning. Much more confident football, probably in particular, out of that back-to-back sequence between Sam Houston and Stephen F. Austin. So I'm certain they're going to come in here confident, a better idea of who they are, who they want to be, and we really, we have to play well in this game right from the jump to be able to do the things we want.
More questions in the room? Colter Nuanez, do you have anything?
Okay.
Rod, do you have anything?
Yeah, Coach, you talked a lot about positions, but can you give me an overall strength of your team as you go in against Utah Tech? What would that be?
Well, I think it starts with our experience. I think our experience through a lot of good and some struggles is kind of the bond that I feel like really ties us together and gets us through some hard times and I think our guys know how to prepare everything. I think when you look at just the makeup of who we are schematically, certainly our ability to run the football was our strength last year. We want to become more more of a passing team this year, but understand that not just for the sake of saying that. We got to be complementary in our way we run and pass the football. And then on defense, we were inconsistent at times last year, but our strength certainly lies in our returning players in our front. I do think we have the ability to be in position to control the line of scrimmage, which certainly affects run games, and then it allows you to get after the passer. Our depth might be challenged a little bit early on the interior, but like that group.
Thank you.
Anything else on Zoom for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Coach, just a quick one, Mikey Diamato, I just was curious what happened.
He left the program this summer. Yeah, so he was never, I guess, technically rostered once we got to things. Yeah.